Okay, well, it's 6 o'clock, so we have a quorum. I think we can get going.
Okay, all right. So we begin this evening with a public hearing. This public hearing of the City of Urbana Community Development Commission is called to order at 6:02 on August 26th, 2025. Could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Diana,
Here.
Commissioner Silvas,
Here.
Commissioner Freeman, Commissioner Womack,
Here.
Commissioner Jones.
Here. Thank you, and we have a quorum. The purpose of this public hearing is to receive citizen input regarding the City of Urbana and Urbana Home Consortium fiscal year 2025-29 consolidated plan. The consolidated plan identifies needs, goals, and strategies related to community development outcomes and use of CDBG and home program funds through U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, over a 5-year planning framework. The consolidated plan, consolidated plan includes the fiscal year 2025-26 annual action plan, a 1-year plan for use of HUD funds in the first fiscal year of the consolidated plan period. Notice of the public hearing was printed in the local newspaper and shared to the City of Urbana's website and social media. A draft version of the consolidated plan and action plan is available for comment from August 6th through September 4th, 2025, and can be reviewed on the City of Urbana website or email the grants@urbanaillinois.gov. You can also see it in person at the Urbana City Hall and the Urbana Free Library. Individuals attending the public hearing may provide input on consolidated plan and the action plan. Comments may also be sent to staff by mail at the City of Urbana, Grants Management Division, 400 South Vine Street, Urbana, Illinois, 61801, or by email at grants@urbanail.gov. Comments regarding the draft plan will continue to be accepted until September 4th at 5 p.m. Final draft of the consolidated plan incorporating comments received will be submitted to HUD following the comment period. Now staff will give a brief presentation on the contents of the draft consolidated plan.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nick Olson. I'm the Interim Grants Division Manager with the City of Urbana. So as you just heard, we are going to be talking about the 2025 to 2029 Consolidated Plan and 2025 to 2026 Annual Action Plan, which is the 1-year increment of that 5-year plan. If this is sounding familiar to some of our commissioners, that's because we have already held several public hearings regarding the Consolidated Plan. The plan was actually recommended for approval by the Community Development Commission back in March, and then was approved by Council and submitted to HUD in June. HUD has now had a chance to review the plan and has given us some feedback. So we've incorporated some changes into the draft of the plan, and just to give the public a chance to review those changes that have been made to the plan, we are holding an additional comment period and hearing. So to get into it with a little more detail, the feedback from HUD that we received was primarily concerned with the ways that we were including prior year fund balances in our action plan and consolidated plan budgets. In previous years, we had included those rollover funds in the budgets that we were making in new action plans and consolidated plans, not necessarily in ways that were inconsistent with the original action plans in the years that we received the allocations of those funds, but more of just a way of saying, these are the funds that we still have and this is what we're going to do with them. The guidance that we're now getting from HUD is that those funds are basically accounted for already in prior year action plans, and we don't need to be including them in our budgets moving forward. So we have basically taken those rollover funds out of the budget for this current plan. So the primary impact of this plan's budget is that it looks like we have less funding available. Please note that we do still have some rollover funds available, and we're going to be continuing to use those for activities that are consistent with those prior year action plans. It's just a really a change to the format of our plans budgets moving forward. And so again, HUD has requested that we hold an additional comment period to address these changes, but because the plan is still in a draft stage, it does not require a formal amendment or vote at this point. So again, just a quick refresher, the consolidated plan is a 5-year plan, and then each year of that period we publish an action plan. So the consolidated plan itself includes the first year action plan for that period. And then there are actually a variety of budgets in the consolidated plan that kind of correspond to whether it's that 1-year increment or that 5-year period. So getting into the numbers here, here we have a breakdown of the overall resources available in the plan as it currently stands. The first thing I'll draw your attention to are the numbers in red. That's the second column from the right. This reflects prior year resources that have already been committed to activities. So these are the numbers that had previously been included in the plan that we have now taken out of the budget for this current draft. And again, those are funds that are committed to projects already. To make things slightly more confusing, there is a balance of more uncommitted prior year CDBG funds. These are basically funds that were left over from other projects that were already completed. So HUD gave us a little more flexibility there in saying, okay, you can rebudget these and include these in your budget. So that's the top row, second column from the left, that $478,303 in CDBG funds. That is a rollover balance that we are going to be including in the FY 25-26 budget, and we do expect to have those funds drawn down pretty soon. Other than that, we are going to be working with our annual allocation. So that's the leftmost column where you can see that for FY26, we have been allocated $392,195 in CDBG funds and $633,154 in home funds. And then that corresponds to our 5-year budget estimate in the rightmost column, where you can see we have just under $2.5 million in CDBG that we expect to be working with over that 5-year period, and a little over $3 million in home. Note on that is that is an estimate. We don't know our allocations until Congress sets the federal budget each year. So the best we can kind of do is look at what we've received in previous years and make an estimate based off of that. So moving forward, that was a quick overview of the total amount of resources that we have available in the plan and some of the changes we've made in this latest draft. There are actually several budgets included throughout the plan related to the goals and projects identified. The consolidated plan kind of has a waterfall structure where at this very broad level we're identifying the needs that we've identified in the community. And then downstream from those needs, we identify our goals for addressing those needs, and then getting a bit more granular, we talk about specific projects that we're going to undertake to meet those goals and needs. So again, just as a reminder, and this is something that has not changed since the previous draft, the priority needs that we identified in the plan were, again, this is very broad level, affordable housing, community services, and community development. So downstream of those needs, we have our goals, and here I have our budget for the FY26 action plan as it corresponds to our identified goals. So for the Invest in Affordable Housing goal, we expect to spend $85,000 in CDBG funds this year and $470,154 in home funds. For support households in need, we expect to spend $228,195 in CDBG and $100,000 in home. Just in case you're wondering what that language means, that would include things like public service CDBG activities, as well as tenant-based rental assistance for home funds. And then encourage community and economic development. We expect to spend $478,302.86. That's actually reflective of that rollover balance, and we're actually planning on putting that towards our next year of infrastructure projects, as well as some potential economic development activities. And then we also, lastly, have our planning and administration budgets. So here we have our, getting a little more granular, we have our CDBG projects. So again, we have administration, and then we also have property acquisition, demolition, and new construction budgeted at $5,000. Again, this is for the FY26 fiscal year. So our budget for most of these for the consolidated plan period is basically going to be this number times 5. And then code enforcement at $35,000. And then under the housing and supportive services category, we have public services at $58,000. Once the plan is approved, we expect to be working with Cunningham Township for some of their emergency housing assistance programs. And then our housing rehabilitation program, we've budgeted at $128,000, and then housing program delivery. So these are costs that are sort of like administrative costs, but basically staffing costs that are directly tied to a specific activity. That's budgeted at just over $43,000. For public infrastructure, we have that budgeted at $378,302.86. And then economic development is budgeted at $100,000 for the next year. So then for our home projects, again, we have planning and administration budgeted at $63,000. Chodo developer support, as a reminder, Chodos are our community housing development organizations. So historically, that's been groups like Habitat for Humanity of Champaign County, as well as First Followers. So those are organizations with the capacity to develop affordable housing. So we've budgeted that at $150,000 for the next year. And then we also have set aside some funds for capacity building and operating support for those organizations. We've budgeted tenant-based rental assistance at $100,000 for the next year. And then we also have some budgets for affordable housing development in both Champaign and Urbana. And again, just as a reminder, I can't remember if I mentioned it already, but CDBG funds are granted to the city of Urbana just for use within its municipal boundaries. Home funds are granted to us as the Urbana Home Consortium, which consists of Urbana, Champaign, and unincorporated parts of Champaign County. So home funds are eligible for use throughout that area. So that was a quick overview of the changes that have been made to the draft and what the budget and projects in the plan currently look like. But I'm happy to take any questions.
Nick, I'm trying to remember how we used to describe that home consortium. City of Urbana, City of Champaign. Did it used to be the county, and now you said unincorporated areas of the county? Is Rantoul in its own area, or how does that work?
Yeah, so incorporated towns of certain sizes. Rantoul gets its own CDBG allocation. I can't remember the exact geography. HUD has a tool online called CPD Maps, where you can look at exactly what that region is. But it's mostly Urbana, Champaign, and then rural areas of Champaign County.
Thanks for that clarification.
I noticed in the consolidated plan that there's a brief mention of additional dwelling units, that people could build a little suite in their backyards or whatever. Is that part of this plan at all in those allocations or not?
Yeah, that's a good point. There might have been a mention here or there, maybe in our market analysis or needs assessment, that there might be room for more diversity in some of our neighborhoods in terms of housing types, and that smaller units like that can be a more affordable way to house people. We haven't dedicated any funds specifically to that activity, but I think it's something to be thinking about moving forward, especially as the comprehensive plan that was just passed is followed by conversations around revisions to the zoning ordinance, where if there are potential incentives that can be partnered
that was
with
my next
those
question.
regulation changes, but that's a broader
Right,
conversation.
yeah, that was
I
my
think.
next question, is like, I couldn't remember if Urbana has zoning laws that prohibit you from building an additional dwelling unit. If you can't do it, then you
I'd
can't do
refer
it.
you to our planning division for
Fantastic, thank you.
those specifics.
So if there are no more questions for.
If
oh,
I,
one
if
more,
I
okay.
might, yeah. Going back to the very beginning, just a couple of questions on that prior year carryover section. So if I'm understanding correctly, what they are differentiating between, to an extent, is what I would call surplus funds versus unexpended funds. The first being more budgeted than was necessary to complete the task, and the second being money that was budgeted for a task that wasn't completed. Would that
That's a
sound
pretty
fair?
accurate way of describing this dynamic. I think with these funds that are here highlighted in red and are labeled as committed prior year resources,
Right.
I would say projects that are not completed yet. Most of these are things that we have agreements for and that are in progress. Some of them are just development projects that take several
Right,
years to
so
complete
I'm
and are
assuming
continuing to draw
that
down
what they are
funds.
saying with funds like that is that since those projects have already been identified and already funded, they want those completed and they want those funds used for that purpose, not in the current accounting. That the only thing they're saying that you can pick up is if it was budgeted for 100,000 and only took 80,000 to complete it, they'll let you pick up the 20. Is that?
That's correct, and that's why they've treated those CDBG funds that we are including in the budget this time a little bit
They were more
differently.
looking at it as a potential double count of accomplishments that they didn't want to see counted that way.
That's
make-
correct. I think moving forward, this will actually kind of simplify some of that
Yeah, I would think
accomplishment
so, yeah.
tracking.
Yeah.
Just, kind of keeping everything tied to its
Yep.
initial action plan.
No, that sounds good. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Any more questions for Nick? Okay, so
you.
now that Nick has concluded that presentation, I now declare this public hearing open. If anyone desires to express their views regarding community needs, the consolidated plan, or the action plan, please come forward and be recognized. We also welcome written comments. Since we don't have any further comments, I now declare the public hearing closed. And that takes us to our agenda for this evening for the commission. We'll call the commission meeting to order at 6:20 PM. And could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Diana,
Here?
Commissioner Silvis,
Here.
Commissioner Freeman, Commissioner Womack,
Here.
Commissioner Jones.
Here,
Thank you. We have a quorum. The next item on our agenda is approval of the minutes of our previous meeting, which was June 3rd, and that was a special meeting. So you had, those minutes were provided to you via email and on the website. Is there a motion to approve those minutes as written?
I move to approve the
Thank you,
minutes.
Patty. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion about the minutes of the June 3rd, 2025 meeting? Okay, hearing no discussion. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The ayes have it, and we've approved those minutes. Are there any additions to the agenda for this evening?
There are not.
Okay, thank you, Nick. Is there any public input? Was there any written?
No.
Okay. So that takes us to presentations. And I don't know if we have any presentations
No.
this evening. No? Okay. And then the staff report.
All right, pretty light agenda tonight, but since we were meeting anyway, just wanted to give a few updates on some things. So first, as you may have noticed, Braden Belcher, our former Grants Division Manager, is no longer with the city. He's moved on to another position with the University of Illinois. We're certainly sorry to see him go, but just want to say we appreciate his service to the community. We are hoping to have some of the vacant positions in the Grants Division posted pretty soon, and we'll just do our best to keep on trucking until then. Another staffing update, we do have a new director in community development. Here we're joined by Olivia Jovine. So thanks to her for being here, and we're very excited to have her here with the city. So next for the staff report, just an update on our consolidated annual performance evaluation report. As a reminder, this is the annual report, which is kind of the progress and accomplishment side of our annual action plans, where we report back to HUD on the funds that we drew down and the accomplishments from the activities that we completed. Typically, we start putting that together after the fiscal year ends. It's due to HUD at the end of September. So in September, we will have a draft published pretty early on in the month. And then we will have a public comment period, and we'll formally put out a notice once we've decided exactly what those dates are going to be. But we'll currently plan on having a public hearing to address the CAPER to coincide with our regularly scheduled Community Development Commission meeting in September. So mark your calendars, please. Next, just a quick update on our Housing and Homeless Innovations Program. You may remember having some of those agreements come to you earlier in this year. That was a funding opportunity for organizations in the homeless services and shelter sector to apply for funding, which originated from a few different streams. There were some ARPA funds in there, some home ARP funds, and some city general funds, a little over $2 million in total. But those agreements were approved by council in July. So we have started executing those agreements. Again, we're funding a variety of things, from supportive services and case management to actual development of new shelter spaces. So we're excited to be seeing those funds go out into the community. And then lastly, just to note that we do still have a couple of vacancies on the Community Development Commission. So as you're out working with your networks and talking to other folks who are as excited about making a positive impact and meeting our community's needs as you all are, feel free to mention that, and folks can get in touch with me or with the mayor's office, and we'd be happy to have some new faces.
Thank you, Nick, and welcome, Olivia. Nice to have you here. Nick, a question about additional members for the commission. Any particular area of the city that you're targeting, or?
So I would say, folks have to live in the city of Urbana. That is a requirement. But we would definitely love to see folks who are representing some of our community development target areas, where we really try to target some of our HUD program funds. So that map is actually included in the current draft of the consolidated plan and has also been added to the county GIS layer if you actually want to look at it online in a more interactive way.
Any other questions for Nick about the staff report? You? Any unfinished business to come before the commission this evening?
There's not.
Okay. Any new business?
No.
Okay. Any new business from any of our commissioners or comments? No? Okay. Well, having exhausted our agenda, we are adjourned. Thank you all.